I really think that what we're witnessing in the finals right now shows that the NHL has an excellent opportunity to get in. And I did the video today on why the NHL is where it is with its revenues, and now we're hearing about how much money Vegas has brought in and everything. So I'm going to go ahead and discuss this as if I'm talking to fans who don't watch hockey, and why you should. And here are the reasons. Speed. Hockey's a very fast game. Now you got to learn how to skate before you learn how to play hockey, and it is cost prohibitive for a lot of people. And I'm going to say that straight up front. So for people who've got small kids and you're like, hey, I want to get my kid into hockey, it's not cheap. If you want them into the organized games and the organized teams, it is not a cheap sport. There's a lot of equipment. There's a lot of safety stuff, and just you've got to have the skating lessons too. If your kid can't skate very well, he's not going to be a good hockey player. Hockey players often take speed skating. They even take a figure skating. Anything they can take that improves their game. So speed is a big thing. Hockey's very fast as long as you've got the means to get your kid into it or get yourself into it. No long finishes. So if you've watched basketball or football, the last 2 minutes of a game can take about a half an hour. That doesn't happen with hockey. There's one timeout each team. They're 30 seconds, and you don't have long finishes. There's a commercial break for every 5 minutes of game on the ice, and that's it. That's it. You have your TV timeouts 4 times during the periods. That's it. Technically 3 times during the period because that'd be 15, 10, and 5 minutes, and that's it. And during the overtime, there's no TV timeouts. Best jerseys, and I may be completely biased on this one because I've got about 200 of them over here. But for my money, I think that compared to baseball, basketball, and football, I think they're the best. I think you get the most material for your buck, and I think there's more creativity that gets taken with jerseys in hockey than in any other sport. Skill level. The skill level that the players have in the league right now is the highest it's ever been, and I'm going to go ahead and duck the tomatoes that are going to get thrown at me by fans of the game as it was in the 80s or the 90s, but the skill level has never been where it is right now. Players are bigger, they're faster, speed, and the amount of skill they show around the net or defending is better than it ever was. So this is a perfect time to start watching it. And the athletes. The egos of a lot of the football, baseball, basketball players and how they wear on people. And sometimes that's what's worn me out of watching certain games or certain sports or certain teams. I don't find that in hockey. I don't find that the athletes have that same ego, and maybe it's because they don't make as much money as other leagues, but they're still millionaires, so it's not like they're hurting, so they need to be nice to us. They're nice people. They'll stay forever for autograph signings for the most part. And when there is that one guy who's got an attitude, everybody knows who that is because he stands out from everybody else. Long overtimes. If you enjoy games being played to their finish, in the overtime periods of the playoffs, you play till there's a winner. It is a fantastic game, and I like some of the long overtimes. This year we haven't really seen them, and we don't see the 3 or 4 overtime games as often as we used to. I think because the coaching is better, which I don't even have on here. The coaching in the NHL is very well done, and it's all attack and counterattack, and the strategies of the game are fun when you learn those too. 3-on-3 overtime during the regular season. There's nothing more exciting than the fact that you have 5-on-5 play during the 60 minutes of a game, and then if it's still tied during the regular season before the playoffs, you play 3-on-3. And 3-on-3 hockey is full of exciting offensive opportunities, a lot of really fun little cycles you'll see taking place, and more 2-on-1s than you can shake a stick at. It is just fun hockey from start to finish. There are people who would put the shootout that takes place if that 5-on-5 or 3-on-3 overtime for 5 minutes doesn't see a winner. I personally am not a huge fan of the shootouts. I know casual fans are, where if it's still tied after the overtime in the regular season, you then have shots taken back and forth, and the team that gets the most shots on those breakaways is the one that gets the win for the game. Violence. So in the NFL, there's a level of violence that's there, but there's a line. And baseball, they all come out of the dugout usually just to hug each other. There's no punches thrown for the most part in most of the baseball ones. It's sort of weird how they'll come out of the dugout. And that's just an NBA. Sometimes there's wild swinging, but there's no real strategy to it. They're all legs and arms, and it looks kind of strange because they're like 7 foot tall, all of them. So it's awkward fighting when you're that tall. Hockey players fight, and there's violence in the game. Now, the violence is not what it was in the 70s. So for people expecting bench clearing brawls, those don't happen anymore. The NHL took those out in the mid 80s by telling them that you'll get suspended and lose a lot of money. And players went, "Oh, we don't want to lose a lot of money. We're staying right here." And coaches didn't want to get in trouble either, so they don't allow people to jump over the boards and get into a fight. So bench clearing brawls are non-existent. Line brawls, which is when you have 5 guys paired off with 5 guys, are very rare. But for actual violence, for actual stick work, and all these other things you're going to see during a game, there's a lot of it in there. And most of it's legal. There's a line that gets crossed. And as a fan, I'm going to tell you right now, sometimes that line gets kind of fuzzy, especially in the playoffs. And I apologize to fans who are just getting into it. Now, diversity, I always see diversity. There's no diversity. Oh, there is. There are 445 Canadians currently listed on the site that I checked. Guys who've played one NHL game and are still active hockey players. 445 Canadians, 269 Americans, 98 Swedes, 42 Finns, 39 Russians, 36 from Czech, 14 Swiss, 13 Slovaks, 7 Germans, 7 Danes, 7 Austrians, 3 Austrians, 3 from France, 2 from Norway, and then Australia, Latvia, Slovenia, and Netherlands have 1 player born in their country who has played at least 1 NHL game. There are more Americans getting into the game all the time. And when you look at the draft used to be, here's all the Canadians, and there's a couple of Americans in there. It's more 50-50 now than it used to be. And for people who are wondering about where the minorities are, they're coming up. Part of the thing is that NHL in the South didn't come in until the mid to late 90s, depending on which part of the southern states you live in. And so those players are just starting to get to that level now. Austin Matthews, who plays for the Toronto Maple Leafs, Arizona kid. So there are examples of kids who've been exposed to hockey in the 90s that are reaching that NHL level now. And I think that number is only going to grow. I can't think of a better sport to promote. I can't think of anything that I would rather discuss on a YouTube channel, as I have for the last 2+ years, and I will continue to do so for as long as I'm physically capable of doing so. And it's a really, really fun game to watch. And I understand that there's been a negative connotation to watching hockey and just to hockey in general. And when I watch hockey movies, that's part of the reason I get aggravated with them, because they don't portray the sport how it really is. And you'll see something in the game, or in a movie, and you go, that's a penalty, that's a game misconduct, and then they play it up for drama's sake. Don't go based on the movies, but experience hockey. It's the best advertisement I can think to give, and reasons for why it's an amazing game. So there you go. Thanks for watching. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happen to browse to this video. I'll talk to you again soon.